Okay, much appreciated. Da'a Matat Afaf Amun for the introduction and setting up for today's class and readings. So good afternoon, everybody. My name is Nabab Kakni Hess. I'm one of the student teachers under All Eyes in Egypt, Midlands and the North of, obviously, under our master teacher, also known to us as Pana Bab Yaanuwn, Dr. Malachi KZ York Okran in the sound, and this is brought to you today by All Eyes in Egypt, Midlands and the North as a part of United Sabaeans worldwide. Okay, so today's class, as introduced by Da'a Matat Afaf Amun, is I Was There, which is here, which is a part of Taraq, which is the Sabaeic way of saying the way or the guidance, part of what we refer to as the hereafter into the thereafter doctrine. Understood? So the hereafter doctrine is dealing with after the religious schools were dealt with in the first half an hour from 1970, of course, down to the year 2000, when the devil's rule ended. Yeah, when the nines last the ninth, which may have been covered in the introduction, 9th September 1999. Then that period now where we step out of the religious degrees into our story, our doctrine, do you understand, is referred to as the hereafter. Hereafter the devil's rule ended. And then 2012, which was seen to be of some significance when that date was happening, which is a symbolic date, but is symbolic of what we refer to as the thereafter. Yeah, so the transformation of the planet, or the energies on this planet, moving away from matriarchal to patriarchal, and in this context, obviously the axis of the planet is starting to point towards the center of the galaxy, where there's a massive black hole, as opposed to pointing away from the center of this galaxy. And it will take around about 6,000 years for that energy to reach its absolute apex of power. Understood? And this is the rise of the female back to power, and this is known as the thereafter time, or thereafter doctrine. Understood? So Taraq, the way, understood, which when we were in the religious degrees and we were learning back the ancient ways, now I suppose reimagined for us in this day and time by the incarnated master, of how to pray again. We called out, and so we used to say Ashutat par Tarug ila par netirat at the time, with the tones. Yeah, and the word Tarug means way, or prayer is a road to the deities. That's what that translates as. And the word Tarug there, in terms of a way, was in its verb form, Tarug, which is Taraq today, but Tarug in AU, as the vowels you see between the consonants there, was in its verb form. And when you see it now as Taraq with the double A, that is in its noun form. So we called out for what we didn't even know we needed, which was this medicine to defeat the spell that had been placed upon blacks, understood, in the forms of these books, the guidance, you understand, guiding us back to our home in and beyond the stars, and reconnecting us, as I say, with not only our physical ancestors, but our etheric ancestors as well, who the Egyptians are referred to as the Natharu, where they get the English word nature from, but their proper name or true name is the Murzaku, you understand, or Rizkians, you understand, meaning providers. Understood. So let's get into today's class then. So this has already been covered so we'll click into where we are today. So some of the maxims of Yaanuwn. Barnabab Yaanuwn, if you won't drink poison, then don't listen to fools. So I think one of the things that certainly we've been guilty of as a people, and certainly in this day and time, maybe which is a little bit disappointing in the information age, is the ability of people to be easily, as they say, I think in slang, twanged, you understand, or fooled or tricked in this day and time, where people say it can be trial by media in a lot of instances, as opposed to people digging in and listening to the facts. Maybe what's a little bit disappointing for our people is that we should understand more than most about being misjudged, understood, being judged by way of stereotypes and things of that nature, or you understand what I say? They try to say there's no smoke without fire, meaning to say that an accusation can't be made. If somebody makes the accusation, then there must be something there which calls them to make the accusation. Do you understand? So it says no smoke without fire. But yet, many people, if you've been in buildings or even in your own home, steam can set off your fire alarm. So steam is a form of smoke. Dust in the form of smoke can set off a fire alarm. You understood? So there are instances, and even you can have fire that doesn't give off smoke, for example. So there are instances where you can have fire without smoke, and you can have instances when you can have smoke without fire. So the idiom, you understand, is not true. And then the word idiom, I-D-I-O-M, understood, really links back to the word idiot. Yeah, so these statements which people let off or say, not necessarily are factual, and certainly not maxims, you understand, i.e. Can be considered to be absolute truths, understood, in the observation of the environment that we find ourselves in today. So just 3 useful ones. Yeah, if you won't drink poison, then don't listen to fools. Thank nature for being there when you need it, which it always is, understood, providing, you understand, the gift and blessing that we enjoy every day, but we don't really thank all the time. Some do, but many don't. And then to accept a race is to accept their curse and the judgment of for their evils. So there's a lot of encouragement in terms of, you know, certainly in this country anyway, a lot of race mixing and things of that nature. But, you know, the term fall in love is a real term. So are you taking on board the very judgment that's upon their genes or their ancestry when that takes place? And this is not a black power statement. You know, we make this term, no one wins the race in racism. Do you understand? But I don't have to put my kadub, you understand? I don't have to put my phallus in you for us to be cool. You understood? So we don't have to mix necessarily, unless that's a decision you all take, or as an individual, and you fall in love with a person from a different race and make it work. It is what it is. Do you understand? As long as they respect you for who you are, and vice versa. But the reality of the situation is that you have to understand, if for generations, if you've inflicted, or they've inflicted, excuse me, an action which has then triggered natural laws to kick in on them. So if you, for example, attack a person just on the basis of their race, then you could violate natural rules referred to, or natural laws referred to as the code of the races. Do you understand? So if you violate somebody, like kidnap them from their homeland, murder them, you understand, for their blood and things of that nature because of their race, then that judgment falls upon you and your children, understood, and future generations. So this is what that is linking to. You know, if people have certain race have violated rules and judgments, and then you then take that on board, then obviously, I think there was somebody in the media recently, I've forgotten his name, but I wasn't watching fully, but I saw it was sort of touching in this black guy, you should probably know the name more than me, someone put it in the chat if they can remember, who's going around asserting this no colour no colour theory. Understood? Yeah. No, he doesn't see colour. You know that famous one. No one sees colour. Well, understood. Colour is important. Understood? Because in nature it tells a particular, not just story, but it can be a warning. It can give you an indication to what a thing is or is not. Understood? And when it comes to race, they don't want to see colour. When it comes to black people, obviously they don't want to see colour. But to us, obviously the colour or tone is important to us, and it's an identifier of our connection to natural nature. It's an identifier for the gifts and the blessings that our Natharu have put upon us. You understand? As we've said, the world hates Understood? Strong genes. The world hates nature. Understood? Or certainly the Western world hates nature because the standards of beauty are based upon genetic inferiority, isn't it? Genetically weak, understood, is considered to be beautiful, understood. Genetically inferior is considered to be beautiful. Genetically strong is considered to be ugly, you understand? And genetically dominant is considered to be ugly. And the features, for example, that are efficient, for example, in processing air, so large nostrils, large noses, you understand? Thick lips, understood? These are considered to be ugly in this society, understood? If they have black or dark skin associated with them, understood? And then that's considered to be ugly, and yet they seem to be the ones imitating these features, etc. And when they do it, then it's beautiful. But when it's on us, it's ugly. You understand? It's inferior. This is what they've trained the world through their media, their movies, understood, and even extending to their religious ideologies, understood. So the question that most people don't say, they'll say, well, if a person has good hair, which is really fur, but they'll say that person has good hair, then the question is, well, what is evil hair? Yes, if somebody has good hair, somebody else must have evil hair. Yeah. So who are we to them in their doctrine then? Yeah, because the progenitors of evil, if you're naturally evil, if your hair is evil naturally, who is a natural person in their doctrine who is naturally evil? Yeah, well, they call that the devil, don't they? That's what they refer to that individual as the devil. So the devils must have evil hair. Yeah, instead of the good hair. Yeah, and what have you done to be evil except use an afro comb? That makes you evil, yeah, because you've got an afro comb that you use instead of a fur comb, which they use, yeah, to brush. You understand? We comb our hair, they brush, I suppose they brush their fur. You understand? In that regard. And so these are the things that say, when you point them out, as you know the way the system is, then you become the racist. Yeah, but the inherent racism, yeah, which is, as I say, detrimental to all races, obviously, on the planet, but predominantly ourselves, you understand? A weak us, or weak, black people or black race is a detriment, of course, to the human race. Yeah, and so this poison called racism and its detrimental effect, not only on us mentally, but also on us physically, yeah, it still permeates today. Yeah, because the doctrine or nature of those extraterrestrials who created these this particular race, the Mokasu race, in its various different forms and guises or species, physical ethers in that regard, is that they were programmed with hate. Understood? Programmed with it. And so that's that. But the finger's not pointed to the being or person who created them, which is their God, which is nothing more, as I say, if we're using modern day terminology, than a group of extraterrestrials, the we and the us, they have in their story in Genesis the first chapter onwards. Anyway, let's get into what we need to discuss today. So part Taraq, I was there, which is here, part 1. Now, so it says in Sabaeans, I was there, which was here, and then in verse 1, Likum I Maria Nuwaupu Afaf Pa Muhwa'u Shalel Panan Kawak Athun Rabu. So for you, my beloved Nuwaupians or Sabaeans, of the originals of this planet 24. So this is important and something maybe explore in part 2, or if we get more parts to this. Yeah, is this term original? Yeah, very important. Yeah, being the originals of this planet. Yes, understood. Now that is not our absolute origin from this planet, but it is. We are the originals of this planet at 24. No other race has come before us, and as Da'at Matat Afaf Amun was reading in his last few verses, we can see that that point was emphasized and made. Understand? And so, if you look up at the so-called night sky as they have it, and we look into space, then we can see that our color is closer to that blackness, understood, than all other races, of course, on this planet. Do you understand? So our origin, of course, is from in and beyond. Yeah, this is what the tablets taught us well over 20 years ago. Understood, in its first iteration in 1996. Yeah, that new cycle information. Understood, in and beyond the stars. Understood, in and beyond. So we come from that blackness. Understood. This is our origin, and upon this planet, of course, we were here before all others. Yeah, and so they are their mothers and we are their mothers and fathers in a context insofar as the genes that were placed here by our ancestors in the waters of this planet. Excuse me, from our original home, yes, which was Sirius A, B, and C. Understood, and we were relocated here when Sirius C collapsed. Yeah, understood, and we may get into that in future parts of this class. Now, part 2 says, or verse 2, excuse me, says, Azkur, yeah, remember Wakut, the time of your past. So the issue for us is, well, why don't we remember? And so, yeah, why did we forget? Kind of thing. And as you know from many of our introductions, but we'll remind people who may be joining us for the first time, so welcome. Yeah, is that we are suffering from a spell, or what has been classified by the incarnated master Yaanuwn, our master teacher, yeah, as the spell. Yeah, so a specific, as I say, mental disease or illness, yeah, categorized throughout the ages in its different forms or iteration. Understood? So Raqay, Shalel, Nawum, or this spell of sleep, you understand, is something that was cast upon the Nagaru Sulao or Negro race, you understand, by the forces of Wicca, you understand, witches and wizards, or their spiritual advents or advocates, do you understand, casting that spell upon our people. So one of the things of reconnecting back with our true power, our true ancestors, in a sense, is that success is also derived from us not only being positive, but then also positively targeting, protective energy against our enemies. Yeah, so the trick is, if you make good appear bad and bad appear good, then you may be confused about who your enemy is. Yeah, understood? And so part of your success, part of your come up, if you're out of these hellish conditions, or our come up out of these hellish conditions, is going to be your ability to pray against your enemies, seen and unseen. Yeah, because there are hidden forces within this environment, within this world, that, as I say, will trick and fool, because the real game, yeah, which we probably get into, say, in these parts, yeah, which the master teachers obviously revealed or uncovered, is the fact of how can we steal their energy. Yeah, emotional energy. How can we feed and steal their energy? Because there's only one source of energy. Yeah, only one source. Yeah, the nine source, us. All energy derives from the blackness. And what do we mean by that? Well, yes, of course, existence is made up of what? 90% of that blackness, excuse me, is dark matter and dark energy. 10%, you understand, makes up the visible universe. We've given this many times in this class. Yeah, so that makes up your 100%. But the light part, or the 10%, sits within the blackness. Understood? And 76 of that blackness is dark energy. 24% of it is dark matter. So energy is the key. Yeah, energy. So when they talk about energy security, yeah, that's what 9 ether or Wusabat needs to be for us. our embracement of it is energy security. Then countries talk about energy security because different wars and things happen, and they then now it can compromise if you've got to import your gas or your oil or different things, electricity even from another country that you haven't, relations may not be favorable, then your energy security is compromised. So you want to be able to feed off of or have energy provision from your own sources within your own borders. Understood? And so us as Sabaeans, Nuwaupians, as black people, understood, need to have energy security, and the science of Wusabat obviously corrects and informs us of what to do and how to protect ourselves in that regard. So our energy is only being directed to our ancestral forces, understood, and not those who, as I say, either fooled us or tricked us in seeking to obtain it. But yet those very forces are working for our destruction, do you understand? Or certainly our weakening, so that we can be taken advantage from an energy point of view. Understood. Now, any questions? No, any questions?
No questions at the moment.
Okay, appreciate that. Okay, so the spell in and of itself has various different iterations, throughout the ages. So in ancient Egypt, it is known as a spell of Amam. Understood? And as we can see here, and it contained within the Taraq as well, we've got Am there, which means nation. Understood? Amnesia is dealing with forgetfulness. Understood? So this is a spell or a disease, which is why we've built these structures, we've built these pyramids, we live this culture, and we can't remember it. And then people get mad in the world, like the Egyptians with a Y, get mad when we, the real Egyptians, step up and reclaim and explain our culture. Understood? The spell of Kingu, which is a spell of religion, yes, Kingu being an ancient word for the moon, it's on the screen, the spell of religion. So we started to then look outside of ourselves for that connection or divinity. Understood? And this is where, instead of being a part of nature, we started to worship aspects of nature. Understood? And more importantly, separate it out from self. Understood? And this is the trick, as we were explaining in the class 2 weeks ago. Remember, a lot of the biblical, and particularly mythology, is nothing but, the master explained many years ago that the stories in the Bible and the Quran, nothing but the birth and death of solar systems and galaxies. Understood? So the cosmology, or that cosmological understanding, is missing. People have got caught up in the symbolism of it, as we have. We named, as I say, people, prominent people after star constellations, prominent planets after people, etc. Just like today, people name people up roads after people, buildings after people, so on and so forth. We've had a significant impact within their environment. Understood? As a tool of remembrance. And so people have forgot, not knowing, or being in myth, where myth is reigning, as opposed to facts, that gives you understanding into an overstanding for select few, inner standing. Understood? Then they've forgotten the simple science. Okay, that planet was named after such and such person who existed and lived. Understood? Or this tribe, i.e. the tribes of Israel, is speaking about these 12 star constellations, understood, of the zodiac that we have associated, or some have associated with the tracking the energy that hits the planet Earth. Understood? And so they are constellations, and they've had a bit of an artistic or symbolic expression to them. And then, but at one time we knew exactly what it was, and then now people have forgotten. So people can take advantage of utilizing that simplified thinking, if that's a word, or that simple thinking, or dumbing people down, into a state of ignorance. And then now it's tribes that God created. Do you understand? It's God. It's not extraterrestrials. Do you understand? So the truth of who this religion was who the people were who started it, etc., has been long lost, understood? And so it enables then for a person then to implement religion, which to us, and something the Master has expressed implicitly upon us to pay attention to, is that religion makes you subservient to other races. You understand? And so what it's done to us, whether we are following the Torah, you understand, of the Judahites, whether we are following the so-called New Testament of the Christians, whether we are following the Third Testament, you understand, Torah being first, New Testament being second, and the Third Testament being the Quran, then this is, as I say, each one of them, if you think about your place or status within it, you are subservient under a group of people who claim to be the source and the original of it. You understand? So even if we are those, when the original teachings that sit behind the bastardization of those scriptures, those religions today, you understand, into more the man-made, to focus on the man-made versions and not the sort of holy book, as they classify that, which they don't have the originals. They only have oldest. Oldest does not mean original. They only have oldest, understood? But within that, you're playing second class, third class, you understand, fourth class, fifth class citizen. Do you understand? Even in some of these religions, particularly in the Quran, you're seen as slaves, or the color of us is associated with slaves. You understand? And other stereotypes. Yes, like Bilal, who is what? He's a singer of the Adhan. Yeah, so black people associate with music, singing, so they're happy with that stereotype. But the implication is, if Bilal, who was from Ethiopia, overstood and they played down his status, well, he sings the Adhan, well, what colour is everybody else then? They must be other than the colour of this Ethiopian. Understand? And slavery, as you know, kidnapping, let's use the proper terminology, yeah, is rife throughout, you understand, the Arab world and throughout that religion. And as I say, maybe the Arabs get away with it more so than a lot of the energy around the kidnapping about people is directed more towards the Muqassim or the Caucasians, where the Arabs are sitting there, as I say, still, even being the architects of a lot of that, even still to today, and not catching the appropriate level of flames, yeah, for kidnapping or having human beings in servitude. So outside of ourselves, yeah, the spell of religion, and in this day and time, the spell of money, yeah, and the fact that, as I say, right, going too deeply, the spell of Leviathan is dealing with the spell of money. Now, people talk about the love of money is the root of all evil. Well, it's not really the love; it's what it's the energy that's being put into it and what people do, I suppose, for it. This piece of paper, you understand, which people have forgotten how it started, how it arose, and the real value that sat behind it. Remember, we went through this in a previous session. Remember, this started from a bartering system. Yeah, bartering system, and the money, etc., which you see thrown around, people use the money phone and all this kind of thing, throwing it around, etc., is not really worth. It's not worth the value other than the paper that it's, or whatever the material, plastic in this case, today now, is that it's made from. Understood? It is a bartering system. It's a, I can say, a promissory note, what they refer to as. So as to say, if let's say, for example, I cut hair, yeah, and I don't know, one of the brothers, let's say Semiket, I cut hair, Nabab, Semiket, you understand, he fixes cars, yeah. Now, basically, Semiket comes to me, yeah, and he says, hey, can I get a haircut? I say, no problem, I cut his hair. Understood? What does Semiket have to offer? Well, he's a mechanic. He fixes cars, for example. Well, back then it would have been cars, or it would put, you know what I mean? Back then it might, let's say, a chariot or something like that. You understand? Whatever it was. But you know what I'm saying? Some transportation vehicle. He fixes those, yeah? So he now says to me, well, okay, he says, oh, well, I can offer you to fix your car. I say, well, my car, understand, or transportation vehicle is working fine. So he writes me a promissory note and says, listen, because you've cut my hair today, I will fix your car for free when you need it. So he writes me a note to say that. It's a promise to say, because you've done this service for me, I promise to do this service for you later on. You understand? So I keep that piece of paper. So 6 months later, when I need my car or vehicle that we've got at the time fixing, I can present it and say, hey, remember I cut your hair for you. And I give him that piece of paper to remind him of the promise that he made to me 6 months ago. You understand? So sitting behind the paper is the energy of labor. You understand? Is the energy of us, isn't it? As human beings sitting behind this labor. Now other valuable materials have been used as the intercessor behind the paper, like gold, you understand, as a intermediary device of value. You understand? Other things that back the money. But when it's not backed by gold or something tangible that all human beings recognize its planetary value, meaning to say across the world it's seen to be valuable or useful, understood, then if it's not backed by that, then obviously it's only worth the value of the paper, isn't it? But now today, we understand it's backed by the labor, of course, of human beings, but it's a promissory note. So ultimately, it's sitting between you and natural nature, isn't it? Because somebody might say, well, I've got no money, I can't get food. Now imagine somebody says, I haven't got any money, I can't get any food, and you live on a farm, for example. Yeah, that would seem crazy, wouldn't it? Because you can plant seeds, grow food or whatever to feed yourself. You can rear, if animals is what a person eats, then they can rear animals, whatever, for food and other sustenance, you understand, later on or whatever. So this idea that some intercessors come in now and, as I say, split us between, or position themselves between us and natural nature, has caused an irreality in our perception of our environment. Because the environment in the right location, the right circumstances, etc., provides for us, isn't it? You understand? So, some people live in areas where there are things that human beings can eat that are growing on the trees, etc., that they're walking down the street from. Certain places in the Caribbean, but many places all over the world. You understand, Africa, etc. And you may have some of these things planted in your garden. Some people, say, have allotments and so on and so forth. So, putting the right seeds in the right places, the right cultivation, etc., the environment will grow and provide. You understand? Nature will provide for what human beings need. So the irreality is created in, people kill themselves or killing other people, etc., for this particular piece of paper. Yeah, and it's created, as I say, this kind of irreality. So these aspects of the spell have made us what? Spiritually ignorant. Yeah, so we're ignorant of our environment, how spirituality works in relation to the physical world or the etheric world, how it all hangs together, works, how the rules work, how to take best advantage of it for our race and our people. Who is who on the planet Earth in terms of racial blindness? Who's who? Yeah, on the planet. Are they for or against you? Yeah. Are they opposing force, a collaborative force? Who's who on this planet? You understand? And their origin and so on and so forth. So again, as we touched upon earlier, if you can't recognize the evil one or evil to you in the many different forms it's coming, then it can be a hindering force to your growth and your progression. Do you understand? And so, as we know, a spell oftentimes, particularly, is cast in language, which is why so much emphasis to learn your original language, you understand, Sabaean, or to replace your language of English, to give a new mindset, new type of thinking, to expand our thinking, and so by being to be able to express ourselves in a language that is based more on facts as opposed to the spellbinding and symbolism and lack of intelligence that sits behind English. Do you understand? Where there's many words that have the same sound, correct, and have different meanings, and so it can be obviously confusing in that regard. So this is categorized as a spell. Witches and wizards cast spells, and the spell is cast often in words, not solely, but often, or mainly in words. But we also know through the media the cinema, television. Do you understand? So, and this is all going back to that Wicca teachings and Wicca religions. You understand? To take advantage of your emotional energy to feed their dead forces, because the dead must subsist and feed off of the living. Understood? And so this is why when you think about a movie or a program, yeah, which is programming you, then you have casting agents, yeah, casting director, yeah. So yeah, putting people in positions within the movie, and as we've touched on many times before, yeah, putting blacks really in positions of humiliation. Understand? And even if we are the hero in the movie, it's just to what degree of humiliation that we're not going to suffer in the movie. Do you understand? So they make you the star. Even if you're the star, they're going to put probably a white sidekick beside you who's doing more, yeah, more than most in the movie, almost to say that they feel like they're heroic, or they're the ones arguing against your decisions as the lead, yeah, and they seem to have a lot more power than when it's the opposite, when they are the lead in the movie and you are the sidekick, yeah. You often gets killed early, or you get abused, or understand. And a lot of these programs and movies, if they've got a white sidekick, the black person, and the white sidekick gets killed in the movie or the program, all of a sudden the black person loses their mind. You understand? Because their white friends got killed. Yeah, but when the black person gets killed, they seem to maybe suffer a little bit and carry on right with the next scene of the movie. You understand? So many movies say it's humiliation, yeah, tactics or whatever. And how do you react to that? Yeah, how do you react to that when you see it? Well, you react to that by giving off negative emotions. Yeah, and the question is, who is feeding off of those emotions? Who is feeding off of our pain? Yeah, look around you. Look at those TV programs and the movies. Who is making money from our pain? Yeah, slavery movies, hood movies, and yeah, drugs this, drugs that, whatever the case may be. Yeah, who's making money off of our pain? Yeah, if it's not us, then it's obviously much more of a problem, or it's not us, or people who think in the awareness of us, like us, then it's more of a problem than we think it is. So to see yet not see, hear yet not hear. Yeah, so we've forgotten what we should have known about ourselves, about our power, our story, our ancestral connection, our origin, so on and so forth. Of course, has been lost. Yeah, and here is an extract from My Secret's Ultimate Reality. It says 160. There's a spell was renewed by secret societies of Yarapat, Europe, and to this very day our race still belong to these two groups of themselves, while the Laban Salal doesn't just stop them as a cult. So this is because in their story, understood. Remember that their Jesus is an extraterrestrial. Excuse me, the being that known as Halal, or Satan, understood. Yeah, is none other, you understand, than a person from the Sumerian doctrine, the son of Enlil, known as Nanar. You understand? Yeah, Nan, or meaning master, and Nar meaning fire. Yeah, so master of fire, in a sense, who is their Jesus. You find obviously in their books in the Old Testament, in Isaiah chapter 14 verse 12 and Revelation chapter 22 verse 16. Understood? So Nanar, the spell was broken according to their story. Remember when Nimrod, or Sargon II, in a sense, delivered the Tower of Babel, but reconnected. Remember, his thing was he was seeking to reconnect with Napata, Meroe, understood? Meroe, or some say Meroe, the ancient Egyptians, or the pre-dynastic ancient Egyptians, understood? And so that broke the spell, according to their book, yeah, that was being cast, or the control where the gods or the extraterrestrials were able to speak directly into human beings' heads. Understood? So that connection was broken by them coming off of that frequency and speaking back with their original or ancient tones once again. understood? But the spell was re-established, yes, when the religion of Islam was re-established, you understand, by Nana. So this is what it's making reference to. Yeah, that was Nana in visiting back and re-established it through those degrees, understood? So its connection, you understand, instead of the original sort of Islamic teachings, which was really dealing with ones who are truly of peace, not ones who submit, ones who are of peace. Yeah, so the peaceful way of life. Yeah, self-preservation. You understand? A peaceful way of life. Yeah, which those original Tarhites understood. Yeah, the Sands people, you know, instilled and lived by, as taught to them by the Ramadians or the Greys. Understood? Yeah. That was the peaceful way of life, the peaceful way of living. So the spell was re-established, as I say, by Nana, who we know returned back again in 2012. There's videos on YouTube, obviously, with this light descending down in Israel. Check it out in your own time. Now, so one of the keys is, clearly for us, is that, this may have been covered in the introduction, but you see that the feminine forces, to break the spell, the feminine forces, yes, of nature, yeah, establish or makes this Amun Nabab Raqay. Yeah, so this vehicle or vessel that comes back around again to renew our story, yeah, is of feminine origin. Do you understand? Or the feminine forces, yeah. So that dark matter that we're talking about, or that blackness, understood, is female origin first. You understand? Male, obviously, as the juxtaposition, understood, to enable things to manifest. But let's say, I don't know, in this resting state or whatever, that is feminine in nature. Yeah, so all encompassing in that regard. So that appoints, or what's about appoint one to, okay, come and renew our story every 24 to 25,000 years. And as you see there, came to disclose to the people, especially those of his own kind. So not exclusively. So this is why we have other races within United Sabaeans worldwide, because others want to grasp, they want to know the truth of who they are, maybe deep down in their genetics and genes. We're sitting there, as we've said many times in this class. There's more people on the black side of things than there are on the white side of things, but they consider themselves white because in this society, yeah, it's more special, progressive, whatever, to be that, yeah, because of the programming that's taken place. But yet their genes, as well as some of their features, would say otherwise. Yeah, so this Amun Nabab Raqay is what came to reveal the hidden past to the changing present, and so that in having both of those, you can take control of your destiny or destination once again. Yeah, the ruling future. Understood? So that remit there is showing you, well, there's a problem. Yeah, he's diagnosed the problem, classified the problem, you understand, and now is developed a solution tailored for us in this day and time to be applied as medicine to correct this particular issue. Do you understand? Now, if he was white, let's be honest, as the incarnate master, he would be lauded for many of the things that he's done since the 60s in categorizing what the problem was that was affecting our race of people. But because his freckles are too close, then he doesn't get the credit that he's diverse, and that deserves. And what we see now, yeah, is on these various different YouTube channels and videos, we see people now coming with more fancy words, yeah, or their sort of fancy speak for certain things that you were taught in the 60s, you understand, downwards. Now being expressed, you understand, we were taught to fast from years ago. Now, intermediate fasting is the thing that people now are interested in doing. So many things. There was somebody the other day which I was seeing where somebody was on a video, on his videos, talking about how after a certain age, regular sex, for example, prevents prostate cancer. Understood? Something that we were taught years ago. Understood? So these are the things, little jewels like this that you've been taught over the years, the right people not getting the right credit for it. And this doctrine is tailored for this audience, because and it's kept you involved, or kept your mind involved 10 steps ahead, from events that could affect us into the future, but also ensuring that we're part of world events, we're part of world thinking, part of what's going on in the environment worldwide. Because if it wasn't for that, not in this new media age, we wouldn't know. We wouldn't be involved in the because we're not considered to be in a position of power where we're respected enough, where we're making the decisions affecting the planet, of course, today. Understand? So this is the purpose of this Amun Nabab Hereafter, who comes around uniquely, as I say, every 25 or 24,000 years. Now, so let's. I'll come back to this in a sec. So it says in 3. So part of our past. So we've identified why we haven't remembered, and it's saying 3. It is Rahuha, known by way of these Sajal-aat records that have come down to you from Serez Wakutat, ancient times, that there was not one Tashkar creation, but in fact many up to now. So one of the things is about this is in relation to this issue of records, understood? And as we did for a long time in the last series of classes that we did, you can get the book, the proof, from your local All Eyes in Egypt store, or check out classes on YouTube for the focus of the proof by way of Parna Bab Yaanuwn that we've been going into. And this verse here from Taraq, the way age the Adamites past, says, verse 11, out spaces within you, Musbatu or Sabaeans, inasmuch as the rules of space are within you, outer and inner space are exactly the same. So one of the things that's really important that we have to pay attention to is the fact that our story, understand, is written in our genes. It's written in the environment, in nature. It's written in the universe. It's written in the multiverses. It's written in the nothingness. Understood? So we see evidence of our story, these clues, or better stated, pieces of the true jigsaw puzzle, scattered there, left, excuse me, by way of divine design that confirms our story each and every moment. Our story gets confirmed. His history, or his beginning, started when he started to write things down. So his true origin is not disclosed even to his own people. Now it's been disclosed to us by way of the Amun Nabab Hereafter, you understand, because of the new cycle information. The hidden past is not just our hidden past, but it's the hidden past of the planet, the world, the universe, the environment, relative, all this information that's been released, understood, over the past, since 1963, over 50 plus, almost 60 years, you understand? Yes, that's been released until now is all pertaining to our growth, creation, start, our place, who we are, so on and so forth, as it's relevant to us. It's not all information available everywhere, existing all places, all times. It's what's relevant, you understand, to our journey, our story, to where we've got to this point. But his origin starts with, the writing down, and he can't find his story. If his story, which says the Bible, you understand, on into, as I say, New Testament, on into the Quran, where is that written? It's only what they've written down, what they claim their God can do, what they claim their Allah can do, what they claim their Most High can do. It's what they've written down, which is nothing more than the imagination of men. And we should be able to find proof. Even when the Quran, which may have more stability, let's say, in terms, considered to be, maybe have more stability, but it's only a copy of the stuff that came for in the Bible, their monuments and things that they have, you go to Mecca today, is full of ancient Egyptian monuments and structures. And so the copy is getting the status more than the original. Remember, as we said that before, isn't it? If somebody goes and they takes a picture of the pyramids, yeah, and yeah, they will copyright that. Yeah, they will copyright that. So, and if you go and use that picture, let's say you are an ancient Egyptian, you are of the ancient Egyptians, yeah. So your ancestors built the pyramids, understood, and you come along and you use that picture, yes, without that's copyrighted, they can sue you for copyright. Yeah, but who, the originators, how are they getting paid? How are the originators being compensated? The people who built the thing. Yeah, so the rights are with the copiers. Yeah, not with the originators. The power is with those who copy, not with those who originators. And when we claim our origin, now they want to counter it with falsehood and fakeness. You understand? By their authorizing bodies. Yeah, as you know that. Author, authority, authentic. You don't have enough authors, you're not the authority, and you don't decide what or what is not authentic. Understood? Yeah, so it's holding you back. It's a hindering force if everything you think, or confirmation doesn't mean checked against white records. Now it can mean checking other sources, understood, outside of self, but it doesn't mean, or that, well, because they've said it now, or that's, or their scientists have discovered something, now all of a sudden it's true. The confirmation is within. And actually, when we start looking at the codes, is what the proof was really drilling into us. Well, the actual confirmation is inside of you, outside of you. Do you understand? And in the world, and elements you cannot see, which our ancestors represented by way of symbols. They're called the Safaf or Safafat. Yeah, which the Greeks called hieroglyphs or sacred writings. Understood? And to us, what makes it sacred? Yeah, obviously we have care, I suppose, and concern for it in that regard, because people talk about, and touched upon it even in the last series, sacred geometry. Well, what makes it sacred geometry? Yeah, what makes it sacred to us is that it relates to the human body. Yeah, it relates to the human body. Yeah, they're using certain terminology like understand, overstand, but it's got no substance behind it. Even sacred geometry got no substance behind it if you do not have under into overstanding, yeah, on into sound right reasoning. Yeah, so sacred to us because remember, pa, para, Raqay, aha is the proper term which they called the bastardization of the language, which they refer to as Pharaoh. No, it's Pa, Bora, Raqay, aha, the temple of the sun and moon. Pa, the, Para, temple. Raqay, sun, aha, moon. Temple of the sun and moon. The temple of the sun and moon is what? A universe. Yeah, so it's sacred to us because it pertains, because they say what? The temple is sacred. Our body is sacred. Yeah, and its mathematical manifestation is what the universe chose to put forth to allow our mind to express itself in this physical environment. So we know why it's sacred in this day and time, being re-informed and reformed by the reformer in this day and time, Dr. Malachi K.Z. York. You understand? Making the statements, but backing it up with proof. You understand? Yeah? They claim, everything they claim, where's the backative for it? Oh, Jesus died for our sins. What's the benefit of that in this world today? What's the benefit? How are you benefiting today? Because there's a lot of people who don't follow that religion who are living fantastic. Yeah? While you keep taking, you know what I mean, punches and licks in the face. Yeah? Slap the other cheek. Whatever it is the term is. Yeah? Turn the other cheek, excuse me. And turn the other cheek. Your cheek keeps getting turned. Yeah? While others are, you see what I'm saying? Getting rich off of that. Rich off of your pain. Yeah, rich off of our pain. So, yeah, so that origin is really important because it's where's the backing? Do you understand? So, and importantly, as it's touched upon there, is the perspective. Always go on about this. Yeah, the perspective. What perspective is the records being spoken from? Yeah, or recorded from? Who's telling the story? Yeah, who's telling the story is crucially important. This is some of the things, obviously, not people around in this day and time, but in the start of the transition, or the bridge between religion and reality, was that holy tablets. You understand? And it was confusing for people to get their head around because you were being given different stories from different cultures, yeah, pertaining to, a lot of time, pertaining to creation. Yeah, and origins of people's claimed, let's say, origins of a beginning. You understand? Some even the same story where they've told it from their perspective, yeah, about these events that are associated with the beginning. You understand? Whether it's Adam and Eve, the flood story, do you understand? Certain extinction level events that are taking place as they're recorded, etc., etc. You were learning about that or being taught by the incarnated master from different perspectives so that it would marinate and you would understand that. Yeah, that people are saying things, but it's not the absolute of a thing. It's not the absolute truth. And naturality, reality, as this part of Taraq informs us about, is there are many beginnings. Yeah, there are many creation stories. Even within our own story, there's many starts and stops. Yeah, or growth stories within that. Oh, absolute. Like religion wants to teach you, like, it's an absolute. Well, there's only one Adam and Eve. Understood? Which all the monotheistic religions will have you, okay, from that creation source and point. But even their book doesn't claim it to be the very beginning, the origin of things. It doesn't say that. Yeah, it says in the beginning, not at the beginning. In the beginning, in this period called the beginning, these events happened. Yeah, and in Jeremiah chapter 4, verse 26 through to 28, seems to talk about another beginning in their own book. The one that preceded Genesis chapter 1, verse 1. So those who put the Bible together, the Council of Nicaea, yeah, but there were many ecumenical councils, yeah, who decided, well, what goes in out of all these scriptures we've got? You understand? They were picking like multiple choice. We'll put this one in. That one we can't explain that one, or that one don't fit the narrative that we want to say, so we're going to leave that one out. You understand? And start putting these sets of books together, 72 that then became 66. Yeah, which many are basing their souls upon. Or their concepts of what is origin, their concepts of what is divinity, their concepts of, excuse me, what they should be doing in terms of the future, what rules, etc., they should be living by, is all contained within it. And it's only the mindset of those men who translated the books at those times. So it's interesting that as our story is being reformed, you know, one of the points is, well, okay, it's starting back with what? Yeah, the female, isn't it? Starting back with the female. Now, one of the things that we understand about the female, understood, or sacred feminine, in this regard, is that she's a representation of existence. Yeah, because creation or growth arises out of her. You understand? So we have existence before creation. Creation really just means growth. Yeah, from the Latin word creare. It means growth. It doesn't mean click your fingers and things magically happen. Understood? Yeah, and even their deity had to do his creation over a period of 6 days, and it took so much out of him, they had to rest on the 7th day. Understood? So it wasn't 24/7. He could do, well, I've got 6 days. I got a good 6 days in me. Understand? Yeah, then I got to rest. Yeah, imagine if the sun, our sun, 93 million miles away, says, you know what? Let me do 6. I'll do 6 in 7. I'll do 6 in 7. Let me do that. Or, you know what I mean? I'll do, I'll do 5 in 7. Yeah, how many of us would be dead on the planet as a result? Yeah, the sun is 24/7. 24/7. It doesn't stop. From when it started, understood, it's got about 1 billion years left of fuel, yeah, before it goes supernova. 24/7. Not 6 in 7. Yeah, like your deities you claim. Now, in the woman represents, say, the mathematics or the matrix of the woman, understood, is organic. So we may say, for example, I don't know, like 9 months to birth a child. Yes, it can be 9 months, or it could be 9 months, 1 week, or it could be 8 weeks, you understand, 3 weeks. Yeah, it's the event of itself, obviously, the outcome of producing a child, for example, is accurate, the event itself, but when it takes place is not necessarily by man's absolute clock. It's organic, understood? Sometimes your heart beats in rhythm, sometimes it might miss a beat, you understand? So there's organic means that imperfection and perfection obviously are within nature, the natural settings or surroundings. So the woman, interesting enough, say, represented by this sequence, which represents growth in nature. Yeah, this Fibonacci sequence, as you understand it. Some of you may be familiar with it. If you're not, then pay attention or do some research as well. So you got the 0 here, isn't it? And then what happens is, excuse me, you add on, add 1 in this instance plus 0 becomes 1. Understood? And then that gives you the next number in the sequence. Understood? So 1 plus 1 becomes 2, yeah? Or F1 in this instance plus F2 gives you F3. So the 2 preceding are added together to give you the next one in the sequence, yeah? And it goes on infinitely. Understood? Just showing the first 19 numbers, understood, within the sequence. Now, the difference between the two, yeah? So, excuse me. If you were to times, for example, yeah, this number, for example, by 1.618, then this is known as a golden ratio, because in approximately it will give you the next number in the sequence. So the gaps between the numbers, understood, are considered to be this golden ratio. And so, as you can see, represented in this instance, this spiraling effect, obviously in nature, is referred to, or is the Fibonacci sequence, or the graphical representation of the Fibonacci sequence. If you go and do some research, you're going to find, you understand, the human face, plants, flowers, you understand, that grow in this spiral type, obviously, the galaxy. You understand? So there are many ways where there's Fibonacci, a series of numbers, or the expression of growth or creation in nature is expressed within the mathematics, understood, and the woman is the obviously progenitor of this and this golden ratio as we have it today. Excuse me. Yes, this is the Fibonacci sequence, origin and growth in nature. You can read more about that in a book called Procession Change 2012. Yeah, actual facts from your local All Eyes in Egypt store. So, yeah, so we're interested because when we talk about these Sajal-aat in the sun, or Sajal-aat records, yes, as we say, our story is what? It's in the genes. You understand? It's not in what somebody wrote down, although we kept impeccable, immaculate records represented by the deity Thahutwi, you understand? Some say Tahuti, you understand? Or as the Greeks, Romans referred to him as Thoth, 3 times great. Yeah, so he kept amazing records. It wasn't talk therapy like a lot of black people today. We kept records, you understand? Whether it's writing on the walls, in scrolls, papyrus, understood, we kept proper records. But our ultimate story is in, yeah, the configuration of who we are. It's in our genes. It's in the, you understand, the shape of our body. Understood? It's in our, it's in the divine design that makes us obviously who we are today. Our story is written in there also as its ultimate origin. So some old slides, but it's relevant to this setup, I suppose, in understand about records and our story before we delve into the meat. That's a bit of a pun actually for the part that we're going into, but nonetheless, yeah, the matrix you can see here in etymology in itself in late Latin, it means womb, yeah, and so but its origin obviously tying into mother or other. So the word itself means womb, but it also ties into the maths, understood, that makes us up as human beings, for one, but also represents the maths of the human body, but also the mechanism that stores how you treat it, how you behave, your habits, how you use it, so on and so forth. Do you understand? So what your it's like a memory device, or the record keeping device is also it can be referenced as your matrix or your etheric womb. Do you understand? So what you put into your matrix, how you're behaving, what you're listening to, so on and so forth, it's being recorded, understood, and forms part of obviously what makes up you. So you came from a matrix, and you retain that matrix, male or female, you understand? So you retain that matrix, understood, and as part of you, part of your decisions, etc., it's all recorded. So your body, they talk about, remember in the Decree of Islam, if you remember in the old school, said that when you face that day of judgment, yeah, your hands will speak up against you. Your feet will speak and say where you've been. Do you understand? Your hands will say what you've been. Your eyes will speak on what you saw and looked at. Your mouth and your tongue will speak on what you said. Yeah, so all this is being recorded. So if you pass through that judgment gateway, well, if you were planning to twang, you understand? Yeah, planning to twang the judge, planning to listen. Let me see if I can. Yeah, how can finesse my way through this particular gate? Well, your body has recorded everything you did, and obviously this is being fed up into the etheric reservoir to know exactly what your intentions were at the time when you made that decision. Yeah, so remember, perfection to us is when sincerity matches action. Yeah, so as you think to do a thing, yeah, what's your intention against it? Yeah, is your intention within that? Yeah, the sincerity of the intention match the action. Are the two things matching? Yeah, so in that regard. So remember that movie Matrix, or called The Matrix? Yeah, we showed this many times, but they show you at the end of the first film, yeah, the term system failure, and then they zoom in, like as we're shown on the screen here, and then we seem to be left with this M&F at the end, isn't it? Yeah, male and female. So we've got 3 movies, 3 trimesters. Yeah, if you look at the ships and crafts that they're flying through, it looks like they're flying through the canals, you understand, within the sort of human body, vessels, whatever within the human body. And actually, if you look at the story, not to well, it is spoilers, so if you haven't seen it, then cover your ears. But it is really the battle, isn't it, of that takes place within the woman, the chaotic waters when the sperm is released, you understand, into the waters of the woman. So the battle of her immune system, you understand, against these foreign invaders, i.e. the sperm, you understand, or these sea men, yeah, that have been docked, yeah, or placed in there by the kadub, you understand, or phallus, you understand, that docked in this place, yeah, docking heaven. Yeah, this docking place where, as I say, these seamen were inserted in and then caused these chaotic waters. You understand? If you remember in the movie, there was a character that kept appearing, isn't it, to Neo. I haven't seen that movie for ages, but people know what it is. But the woman who kept appearing, she's got a proper name. Somebody put it in the chat if you can seen the film recently. But she kept helping. Yeah, she kept helping this character Neo, isn't it? It was supposed to be played by Will Smith. And he turned it down. And then Keanu Reeves is playing it. Yeah, probably a bad mistake, isn't it, really? But Keanu Reeves ended up playing the movie. But the woman who kept appearing, if you remember, and helping him is, as you think about it, is the same as the amniotic sac while you're in the womb, isn't it? The amniotic sac that protects the fetus as we grow within the womb protects us, isn't it? Yep. So the mother is protecting us, or the love of our mother is protecting us from our own immune system. Understood? Yeah. If it's talking about a male to female birth, yeah, protecting us from our own immune system in that regard, because, as I say, the semen deposited there is obviously foreign to the woman's immune system, so it causes a war to take place, yeah, within the waters of the woman's body. And if you remember in the Matrix movie, again, spoiler alert, I think in the third film, which to be honest, I've not watched it for a long time, but if you remember in the third movie, eventually, isn't it, Neo, or this so-called special character, Neo from Neolithic, if you think about that, understood, yeah, merged in with the system. He merged in the end, yeah, and became part of the system. So this story is simply, as I say, allegedly it wasn't written by the Wachowski brothers, who are now sisters, but a lady named Sophia Stewart, a black woman, you understand, who wrote The Matrix and The Terminator. This is what she claims. So it kind of makes sense. It's a female story, you understand, or the story of the woman. In both those instances, understood. Any questions?
Note.
Okay, right. So we see that our story, you understand, is reflected in the maths and the matrix, and this is from Actual Facts 19. Who is God, female or male? Yeah, it's not plugging. Get it if you want to, but I would say a must-have for the laboratory. You understand? A must-have for your laboratory. I would say that, but it's up to you if you want to do that, if you can afford it, so on and so forth. Now, we see from the sacred records of Atum-Re that part of that hidden story or hidden information was that it says, what are you saying? Women are gods and predate men? Exactly. This is the best kept secret that is best to be made known now. You understand? So this is something obviously from back in early 90s, when that Right Knowledge series was touching down. Yes, that you were being introduced to, as part of, I don't know what the opposite word, despelling, if that's the right word, or you understand, to get rid of this spell that had been cast upon us. You understand? That this myth was there, that man was first and that he predated or gave birth to, or the woman was taken out of his rib. Yeah. And the problem is, as the young people say today, the math ain't mathing. Yeah, the math ain't mathing. When we look at the story of how it's been given, based on the chromosomal content within nature. You understand? So, which has its own rules, which all life forms within it must follow, understood, or be considered within it to be anti-nature or aligned with nature. So, when we look at it's interesting here, we see that the soul on both the male and female configuration is the same shape here, understood? Yeah, circle with split into 4 quarters. Yeah, so exactly the same shape when we're dealing with the soul. And we understand as well, when we step out of the physical into the spiritual, there's no gender discussion. Yeah, when we're dealing with energy or us as etheric beings. Yeah, and actually, if you look at the way even we're set up throughout the orders, or the master teacher set us up throughout the various different orders, the last or the final one or the top is the ancient Egyptian order, isn't it? And in the ancient Egyptian order, the males and the females having come from the various Masonic orders, be it Order of the Eastern Stars or the original Egyptian Masonic order, when they step out of these gender-specific orders and they step into the ancient Egyptian order, they're both wearing the same uniform. Understood? So as we start, or that we're one step back, let's say, from our, acknowledging our etheric powers as we're preparing for transition into the that etheric state, you understand, through this life is preparing us obviously for that transition or journey. Yet there's no gender discussion in when we're dealing with ether, understood, other manifestation, which can appear to be like a bit of a contradiction, but see here the soul, there is no difference. But when we deal with the body, so the physical body, given to us or gifted to us by way of the woman, we can see in the body configuration, we have a chromosomal deficiency when it comes to the male. Understood? So we can see in these 4 different shapes here, 190-degree angle for here, 190-degree angle for here, and 190-degree angle for here. 3 times 90 degrees is 270 degrees, isn't it? So the 360 up here, we've got 4 90-degree angles in the center here. So 360 plus 270 gives us 630 physically. But here we see the perfection of state where the spiritual matches the physical. So we get 720 chromosomally, 360 plus 360. So the complete being gave birth to the incomplete being. The incomplete being can't give birth to the complete being, because where did it get the last quarter from? You can't generate from nothing. Well, not the way they use it. You understand? From non-existing. So there's a deficiency here that can't give birth. The lesser can't give birth to the greater. The greater can give birth to the lesser, isn't it? If I've got 20 pounds, I can lend you from 1 pence, understood, up to 20 pounds. I cannot lend you 25 pounds because I don't have the extra 5 pounds. Understood? I don't have it. So the myth that male gave birth, when even in the language, male is contained within female. Man is contained within woman. Lad is contained within lady. Even he is within she. Understood? So the maths on the Sabaean end makes sense, but the maths on the monotheistic religious end, you understood, ain't mathing. It ain't mathing. The ontology is not correct. Understood? So, and we've shown this many times before, but for those joining us more recently or just come in touch with us, then the X chromosome, as you can see there, is 5 times larger in size than the Y chromosome. So not just a case of it looks like, well, there's one strand, chromosome strand missing, which on the end of those strands is telomeres, which determine the amount of times that your cells will regenerate. So when you're born, at least your body is programmed with exactly when you are going to die. Understood? In terms of its physical, what's the word I'm looking for? Capability. Do you understand? Yeah, in that regard. And obviously you can be killed by in many different ways, catch a disease, killed by a car or murdered, you understand? Various different ways you can lose your life before that time. But what your body is designed to do, is known, how long you will live, basically, when you're born. So you're born with a certain number of revolutionary cycles within your body, obviously, that will take place, and as they expire, these telomeres become shorter. Now, so the Y is less, so in practice and in actuality, women tend to live longer than men for this reason, because they've got this additional telomere on the end of their chromosome, on the end of the histone packing. Now, here we see the fractions of this from the same book, who is God, male or female, and so we see it expressed in a fractional sense. Now, as we say, this sacred geometry, which many seem to be claiming to have but don't really have it, we see here that the top of the Giza pyramid, now we look at it from the plan view Understood. What do we see here? Well, we see, interesting enough, this cross at the top. Yeah, and hence the term they use, X marks the spot. Yeah, and then they tell you that the character named Jesus, who in the Islamic degree, they know, for example, that it was not Judas on the cross, that transfiguration took place, and he was replaced by Judas, yeah, in books like the Book of Barnabas, for example. According to the story, yeah, an unproven event that took place, that he didn't actually die, understood, by way of crucifixion, but died at age 120, you understand? And his body was laid on the top of a pyramid, yeah, to return back to the elements and aid his transformation from the physical to the etheric, understood? So, did he die on the cross? Yes. But was he crucified? No. You understand? So, in that regard, placed on top of the pyramid, for his body to return, yeah, at 120, then yes, he died on a cross, as you can see here. And as you know, that story is composite of two words, isn't it? Crucifixion is crux, yeah, something that's difficult to understand, and the second bit is fiction. Yeah, so an unproven story. Understood? We know who the real Messiah is, to us. Karast Massa is to us. Understood? As Tutankhamun. Yeah, a story for another day. Now, we can see here the cross on the top of the pyramid. Yeah, and here, the original pyramid design, you understand, we see in Nubia, which the Giza pyramid is a more, not say modern, but a renovated design. Yeah, so Khufu, or Pharaoh, as they say in English, they got the design from going down south. Understood? And, you know, from Nubia, you understand, it's called Aswan. They refer to Aswan today. It's not the original name of the place, but obviously the quarries of the stone that the pyramids are built from, etc. You understand, the quartz stone, etc., was transferred from Nubia. You understand, to help renovate these structures, and it's over 1,000 miles away. So, you know, people, well, how did they get it up there? You understand, this sort of mystery. You know, transporting materials at 1,000 miles, you know, downriver. How did they get them up to this point in the Giza sort of plateau to build these structures? But that's a conversation for another time. But here we see that those original pyramid shapes, understood, yeah, are connected, excuse me, to these elaborate entrances. Understand? So I'll leave you to use your imagination for what this connects to. But here, yeah. So, but now what we see in the ancient times, they're connected. You understand? So the hallway and the entrance, understood, yeah, are connected to each other. In more modern locations, we see this structure, the pyramid, and then we see a temple with the same external structure in a separate building. Do you understand? So difficult to see now whether, you understand, those structures had other things attached to them, because we're not looking at them in their original state. But as you see, it's in the full design here, yeah, to what we're talking about. Understood? And we just touched upon it, isn't it? This Dr. Ben Yaanuwn, if you is famous for saying that heaven, you understand, or this docking point, haven, is between the legs of a black woman. Yeah, heaven or haven is between the legs of a black woman. Yeah, so we see at the top this X chromosome. X marks the spot, and this is a map by a Mukasu explorer, and of this site in excuse me, in Nubia, where we were just looking at here. And as you can see, they're marking X on the top of the structures, understood, and then obviously representing these pillars or corridors, entrances, before you enter into the structure, understood, here with these two aspects of this drawing, or the pillared entrance that comes in. So even then, when you, most of these temples, excuse me, when you obviously enter through this doorway, you tend to see a column of pillars in the sand as you enter into the structure of the grounds and the pyramids are set within. Understood? So yeah, symbolism obviously within that to be further explored. Yeah, but you see the X's on top of the structures there. Yeah. So again, putting this one out the archives, this particular slide, but you can see obviously our positive, they make negative, our truth, their myth. And so when we look at the hieroglyph, for which again we were just looking at in terms of this cross shape, isn't it? The Safaf or hieroglyph as they call it for it, it means Sapat or district. Understood? So we see here these 4 type, pyramid or triangular type shapes, understood, in the corner, which makes up the X. Yeah, and you can see, as I say, why they're myth, because you can see in the symbol of the X-Men, excuse me, in the symbol of the X-Men. Yeah, what do we see? We see the same shape stolen, to give validity to that, and what it's the X-Men. Yeah, mutants. Yeah, so who has the double X? Well, double X is the woman, isn't it? So she's the real X-Men or X-person. You understand? Double X person, because she has 2 of these. You understand? Which they refer to as obviously as mutants within that series, isn't it? But she has the double X chromosome. Yeah, which comes from what? The Sapat from ancient Egypt. Yeah, so they use your symbols. And then, as I say, they twang or deceive, and play it back against you in a negative form. So, as I say, I mean, I've said this many times, but see this term, Mumra. Look at it; it's all a pyramid in the back, isn't it? Obelisk or whatever. He's in a mummified form or whatever. And so, if you're watching the Thundercats as a kid, he's the enemy, isn't it? That's the enemy to you, and that's programmed and placed all within your subconscious mind. You know what I mean? All the negative perception against these structures, the negative perception against these structures, the negative perception against ancient Egypt. And he used to call upon his ancestors for help to fight against the Thundercats because he wasn't living. Understood? So this is him in his dead form, and this is him in his living form when he draws upon power from his ancestors. So all of these subliminals get placed within their program. Someone come along to you later and try and give you the real truth. Now you're resistant towards it. Ancestors, that sound like ancestor connective, calling upon your ancestors way up. That sound like black magic. That sound like that sound like the work of the devil, the demon. Yeah, but as if calling upon a force that you don't know, haven't proven existed, and doesn't even look like you, is the right thing to do. When everybody else is calling upon deities that look like them. Yeah, and that's not the twang. Yeah, that's not the trickery. Understood? In that situation. Yeah, Jesus is the way. Yeah, you'll get everything in the next world. Not this way, next world. You get your blessings in the next world. Yeah, okay, that sound right. That sound right. Yeah, we'll get it in the next world. Jesus is the way, the truth and the light. No one gets to the Father but by him. You understand? All these African countries, yeah, how many of them now within these monotheistic religions, yeah, subserve, so dash away hundreds of thousands of years, tens of thousands, hundreds of thousands of years of culture, yeah, for this Christianity, for this Islam. Yeah, in the next world, you get it. In the next world, not this one. In the next world. Don't worry about that gold. Can we borrow some of that gold, by the way? Can we borrow some of them diamonds? Yeah, can we borrow some of that? Yeah, which their God was interested in. Remember, their God was interested in what? The gold and bdellium. Yeah, Genesis chapter 2. Go and read it. God is interested in gold and bdellium, which is not in the place where they're residing at. They're in that land. Not where their feet, not where they're standing on, understood, which is under their feet. in that land where there is good gold, onyx, bdellium, minerals. God's interested in that. So they're carrying out, this is what in the 9 ball, that's what it's saying. If you understand the spirit forces that sit behind the Bible, you will understand the mind and nature of the Caucasian. It's their God that gave them license to do what they're doing and move how they're moving. As we were saying before, the Canaanites are already in the land. They're already in the land, according to their story. They're already in the land of Canaan. They're already there. God says, nah. That, you take that from them. You understand? Big planet Earth. But you take that land from what they're already occupying, what they've already cultivated, allegedly, according to their story. Yeah, so the license to take where others already living there, that's in their nature. Yeah, that's their God's nature. That's their God's authority. That's God's people. Is that us? No. So that's not our God, is it? Our God's sitting there in Genesis 3:14, according to their records, witnessing all the stuff that they were going on with. So they'd like to play these games, understood, and we see, as I say, that Mumra in the language, from the word Ma or Mara, you understand, meaning beloved, means, Mum, or Mu, I should say. So Mu Mara, you understand, or one who is, loved, or one who is loved, or beloved. Which, you think about, Honorable Elijah Muhammad was telling, taught the Nation of Islam and the various members, they called each other what? Beloved. Don't even know it ties back into, understood, ancient Egypt, where really is the equivalent of the word more in modern times. You never equivalent in our language for the word more, but that's what it ties back to. Do you understand? The word mara, understood, beloved or loved, because they were loved because it was dangerous to enter a certain order. Some of the tests and the trials were very dangerous. So when somebody made it through those tests to become part of the ancient Egyptian order, understood, they were respected, they were loved within the society because they, had taken on board that task to elevate themselves and help, the wider group, wider race, wider family, wider tribe in that regard. So we're highly respected today. Like, I don't know, people see on some NBA games or whatever, they stop and then they clap the military in the audience or whatever. You understand, that type of thing. So they was respected or beloved for the term mumra, which is say they try repurposing your as kids consuming cartoons or whatever, and this is what happens. And it when in our spiritual development, remember, all these things sit in our subconscious mind, and when we're seeking to elevate, we have to address this. All these negative things that we watched, they will become barriers or obstacles, and we have to, I suppose, with the incarnated master, fight through and defeat these barriers in terms of our own elevation. You understand? So we have to overcome our own self. Now, so this is really the place for Sipat district, or what they say today as Nawum. You understand? So Earth Nawum is genome, isn't it today? Genome. And so that matrix, or the mathematics, or the code for life here on the planet Earth is through the female. She owns the matrix, you understand, the code for life here on Earth. And this is why, as I say, so many groups of extraterrestrials and others here are interested in her genes, hence why she needed to protect her. Now, this introduces, I suppose, when we look back, at this Sabat, we see 1, 2, 3, and then 4, triangular shapes. Understood? Within a circle. When we look back at the pyramid that we were looking at, isn't it? We see 1, 2, 3, 4, triangular shapes. Understand? So the 4 in 1, yeah, or 4 as 1, yeah, is that principle. Understand? Which we see there in the female. Just going back through again. Yeah, as the quality principle, isn't it? That a woman can be a woman, yeah, a mother, a daughter, and a grandmother in the same being. Understood? Yeah, so the quality principle, 4 in 1, that we see in the X. Understood? As 4 triangles or 4 quadrants. You understand? Taking it back to this quality principle. Showing to say this correlation and the pieces of this puzzle that our story is in reality. It's not in myth. It's in reality of who we are. Yeah. And so we see that again, another 4 in 1. You're familiar with Tumray, rising sun, a Tunray, daytime or sun at noon, a Munray, there's the sun appears to set, and the sun at night, a Nun. Understand? Yeah. So perceived but not seen. So a Tum really is a position, a Tun position, a Mun is position. When the sun is in that position, then it becomes a Tum Raqay. Understood? So on and so forth. And then we see a Nun, there's no ray there because not seen, or the visible sun ray, let's say that. Here, invisible sun, because you can't see it, yeah, but you can feel it, you can perceive it. Correct? Same, yeah, remember, life, living, lived, yeah, person transitions, understood? So we perceive them, so we can feel them, but we can't see them, yeah, because they're no longer physically, we can't touch them, no longer physically here, understood? Yeah, so the 4 in 1 principle, and it overlays with the seasons and other things, as you'll be familiar with. Now, we see here that there's a matrix given, and we see binary numbers here, and we see 1 equals 9 and 0 equals 8. Yeah, so in these binary number configurations, and then we're given this sort of matrix here, or mapping out the matrix, and we see what? We see this, interesting enough, we see this sort of pyramidal shape, and we see 4 9s in the corner and the 0 in the center, which, as we just was reading about, also can mean 0 or it can mean 8. Yeah, so we can see that the matrix, yeah, of the woman is mapped out, isn't it? Yeah, and so we see that in excuse me, in the spell of it. So amnesia, am meaning nation, nesia obviously forgetful nation, but the reality of us is the imagination or image nation, that what the woman perceives in her mind, understood, she will conceive. Understood? That's why you need to be careful what you watch and take it in when you are with child. Yeah, so we see the 4 9s at the base, and we see 8 or 0 in the center. It could be 4 1s in the corner and a 0 in the center. And when we look at DNA, yeah, what do we hear? We hear listen to that word again, 9. 9. And we hear the Ein principle in there. The Ein principle, yeah, tying back into the original vibration in existence, the Om. Yeah, so Ein principle in there. So we see what? Ada 9. At time mind. Yeah, the Ein in there. Saito Ein. Yeah, Guaya 9. So this, interesting enough, the markers, remember what he's saying, yeah, it's not us. Yeah. Our story is not myth. Yeah, it's reality. Yeah, we see these 9s in there, even in what they've named these 4 chromosomal pairs. Understood? With the 8 in the center. Yeah, so again, sort of 4 in 1. Now, again, base DNA molecules for another class, really, but the predominant tone within that is F sharp. Yeah, which A major is the tonation of the human body, F major tonation of the planet, and then C major tonation of the predominant tonation of the cosmos. Yeah, so within that fits within yeah, while these pyramids or structures help to align us on a DNA level. Do you understand? So they would have openings. The wind obviously will blow past these openings, and that makes a certain sound, like blowing on the top of a milk bottle or something, or glass bottle. And it's kind of woo, the mint sound. These are the tones that helped you then to, as I say, you're reconnecting, reprogramming, realigning at a DNA level. Understood. Now, obviously, we see the double helix correlation here. So we haven't gone into it in loads of detail for this session, but tones, DNA, vibrational energies, actual facts. Seek out that one if you want more detail on that. But we know that our pyramids were covered. There wasn't the stone how we see them today. It's not how they were. They were raided, plumed, I think is the word. Yeah, by invading Arabs, you understand, and Muslims who took the coverings off of the pyramids and stole many materials and structures to build their own mosques. Yeah, so yeah, as you say, they claim to be those people. Yeah, but didn't respect the structures. You understand? Yeah, so their religion didn't respect the structures. Nonetheless, yeah, we're covering. So there's a link to the quartz crystal, and which is one of the materials that say was used to cover these pyramids. So they had a smooth exterior. You understand, as opposed to the kind of block stone exterior that we have or we see today. Even though perfect, it looked like in perfect alignment from a distance. But what you see is a correlation between DNA. We see a double helix. You see same configuration in certain quartz groups, and then what we explained to you as well in the movement of one of our places, or the original place of our origin, Sirius star constellation, Sirius and Orion, as we'd be familiar with, but the remaining star, Sirius A and B, which is now a moves a binary star system, previously a star system, Sirius C, which was obviously previously there, which was drained, and the configuration or movement of the orbits of Sirius A and B in terms of intertwining makes a double helix style orbital shape. So we see the correlation in the stars, we see the correlation in our DNA, and we see the correlation again in our structures. And obviously the pyramids covered in that crystal type shape or whatever, silicone based, remember it acted as an interdimensional communication device. Understood? Because crystals can store, as you'll be aware, light energy. So it's the basis of what we use for computer memory, isn't it? Silicone chips, etc., etc. So it's the basis for that. So that technology comes from ancient Egypt, and by way of our understanding of the quartz, which also in terms of its configuration is based on the 4-in-1 principle, isn't it? 3 oxygen molecules and 1 silicone molecule in the center of this shape. Understood? And so again, the 4-in-1 principle is retained within it, and we can see there are various different configurations of crystals, you understand, in various shapes, with this tetrahedron style shape at the core of these, you understand, which our square pyramid, let's say, is an evolution of that as well. Yeah. And we see there in the same pyramid shape of quartz, obviously. Yeah, it's so why it's used, or it's to say you see it's in sync. The correlation is there. Why it was obviously favoured by us and still used today. For example, the that same technology is used when they do ultrasounds. For example, excuse me, where they're reflecting all the crystal aspect of it. You understand? Obviously, they're beaming sound waves, isn't it, off of the baby and storing the image, obviously within crystal, within a crystal, and then passing electricity through it, low current electricity through it to make it appear or give an image on a screen. Do you understand? So obviously being able to read crystals would have been done in the same way, passing, or you as an electro biological being, you understand, who generates electricity. You put your hand on a crystal, or certain people generate maybe higher levels of electricity, are able to put their hand on the crystal and read the history of, or our story of the information contained within, you understand, or stored within. Understood? So these are some of those hidden or ancient sciences. But you see the correlation there, you know, right there in those patterns being repeated within our genetics or genes. So that our story is real. You understand? There's a solid, as I say, what is it? Sound, right reasoning. You understand? So sound, or wusabat, sound, right reasoning. Yeah, so the sound, it means solid. Foundation. You understood? Yeah, like strong. Sound, you talk about the foundation is within in that regard. Yep. So, what do we see here? So if we jump back just for a second to the part Taraq, it talks about here different creations, and it says what? Four Tapalat worlds of 6,000 years. Yeah. So this is what it's making reference to. Of 6,000 year cycles. Cycles of years after cycle up to now. You enter a fifth world, a fifth cycle, a new world, the Bora cycle, and a recreation. So let's just go back then. So we see here that configuration there of a 24,000 year cycle, and so it's kind of Wusabat 101, but if people are new for the first time, no problem, we're just going back over it. So each one of these 6,000 years in this quadrants, yeah, it's 24,000 years cycle. We know that 24, again, 4 times 6, and this Amun Nabab Hereafter comes every 24 to 25,000 years. The increased time because of processional movement of the equinoxes. And here, as I say, one world one world per 6,000 years. So within a complete cycle is 4 different worlds, yeah, or 4 different eras arising. That doesn't mean that the others are not existing within this time. It's just showing that the emergence of certain, in this instance, physical ethers are arising, or come to the fore during that particular period within the 24,000 year cycle, and therefore contribute to what is classified as a new world. Understood? Yeah. So is what that's referencing. Yeah. For 6,000 years, 4 new worlds. Yep. So as we touched on earlier, Amun Raqay, as we would know him as, so in Revelation 3, chapter 3, verse 14, there's unto the angels of the church of the Laodiceans write these things, saith the Amun, the faithful, the true and true witness, the beginning of the creation of God. So the Amun, you understand, known as the faithful, and the witness, they witness the true beginning of their God. Yeah, the growth of their God. Yeah, so and obviously they end all of their prayers in the name of one of your ancestors. You understand? So amen for the Christians, Amen for the Jews or Hebrews, Judahites, or Hebrews, and then Amen for the Muslims. Do you understand? And even their prophet, understood, is what? Mustafa Muhammad al-Amin. Yeah? Mustafa Muhammad, the Amun. Yeah, so they still tying back in to the vine. Yeah, to the source. Understood. Yeah, the foundation for all world religions, as you know, is ancient Egypt. Yeah, so see there, which also happens to be 3:14, or Revelation 3:14, is pi, isn't it? Yeah, pi. Yeah, so they call it 3.14. The first or pi to 2 decimal places. Yeah, so this is the Safuf of Amun. So see the feather there, and this checkerboard. Yep. And we see the N, or the symbol for naturally occurring water. Understood? Yeah. So, yeah, everything within our culture is stamped and has certain meaning. Understood? Yeah. Obviously to be uncovered, but we can see here, interestingly, even in Amun, we see a 4-point configuration in the spacing. Understand? So here, 1, 2, 3, 4. Understand? So 4 points in the configuration, and again, kind of 4 in 1 type scenario, depending on how you read it. Understand? So in that regard, so we're sitting there in Amun, the hidden one or the secret one, now being revealed, yeah, or that secret, best kept sacred, now being revealed to us in this day and time. Any questions?
No questions.
Okay. So as we said, our origin is in the nothingness. You understand? And but our ancestors, our higher ancestors, are sons. Yeah. So this having this clarity for us in this day and time is obviously clear. And why we keep going over it, I suppose, is because of the importance of what it means to us. You understand? You can see they're our son, but then sons, for example, in this instance, Betelgeuse, as they refer to it as, from the Orion star constellation, it's tremendous in size in comparison to our own sons in Sirius there. Now, a dwarf star, you understand, obviously in comparison to other suns, are tremendous, isn't it, in size? So the sons or our ancestors has brothers and sisters. Understood? And so if their understanding, as it was that their God, or they worship the sun, you see in Psalms 84:11, understood, then clearly, yeah, there are other deities or gods much more powerful than our sons, much more tremendous in size than our sun. Understood? So our sun is just one of many suns, obviously of significant importance to us on this planet. Excuse me. But it's not the only God in existence. And in our story, our sun doesn't have to be necessarily jealous of other suns. Yeah, so it's all suns with a particular purpose, clearly, and executing that purpose. And we obviously have love for Raqay for that reason, because if Raqay wasn't doing or fulfilling its purpose, you understand, then life as we know it on Earth would not exist, you understand, within a matter of weeks. So looking at the configuration then of, or how to understand the fifth world, or 5 worlds. So we've got 4 6,000 year cycles, haven't we? Yes, but in the creation story, they talked about 7 yoms, yeah, or 7 periods, yeah, or which we say 7 days. So each one of those days, understood, is 7,000 years, understood. So in that regard, you say that basically 6 times 7 will be 42, isn't it? And then 7 times 7 gives you 49. Yeah? So 49,000 years, just under what is referred to as an epoch, which is two equinoxes. You understand? An epoch at 50,000 years, there or thereabout. And we can see, interesting enough, is that, as we were touched upon, I think in the last class, if you see here, can you see the arrows, yeah, of the introduction of the mythology of religion, 6,000 years, when the ghostational forces now are coming into their own, you can see the arrow, in this regard, is trying to turn the circle in a clockwise as opposed to anti-clockwise direction. You understand? So, really and truly, that cycle, or that religious cycle, is seen to spin it in reverse to it should be anti-clockwise, which is a direction of travel, what nature moves within. Do you understand? But if we take at 48,000, excuse me, at 48,000, or you go back, let's go back at 48,000. Excuse me. Yeah, and then you start in here, we see that the last, which would be two 24,000 year cycles. So the last cycle, would be for them at 2,000. It would be then at 48,000. Understood? But then they have 1,000 years left. Understood? Within that cycle, because remember the completion of that cycle is at 49, 7 times 7, and then the 4 plus 9, as we showed you before, equals 13, which is why they consider 13 the unlucky number, is because it's the end of their obviously it's coming to the ending of their cycle. Do you understand? To 48 into the 49 is the ending or the completion of the cycle. So their genes have a certain expiry date programmed in by their ancestors by way of race, you understand, called telomerase. So there's an expiry there, and so they were given their Lord gave them a certain amount of time or dominion to rule. Understood? Yeah. So in what this is describing there, so it's saying, okay, well that overlap of that cycle, isn't it? Yeah, in the discussion. So we got 24, which is 4 sixes. Understood? But their last 1,000 years of their cycle, in the sense of the of that seventh day or seventh period, do you understand? Within of that 49,000 becomes the first 1,000 years of the new 24,000 year cycle. You understand? So this is what this is also expression. So we've gone into a new world, which is the new 24,000 year cycle, but it also happens to be the last 1,000 years of their biblical cycle. Do you understand? On the 49,000 years as the last 1,000 years to complete whatever their project or their creation story in that regard. So that's what it's saying. 1,000 new, first 1,000 is the first 20 of the new 24,000 year cycle, exiting out of the old one. Understood? So we overlay this, isn't it? Because you've got these moon and sun cycles, and we have exited a moon cycle or silver cycle to go into a gold, you understand? Or sun cycle, as they refer to as. So this is the hieroglyphs. We've shown this again before of our divine origin, or where our DNA comes from, in terms of Sahu Orion, or Sahat in updated tones, and then Sabaeat or Sabaeat, as it's shown for Sirius. So I'm going to explore that a bit more in the future parts of this. Let's go to the next page then in that Taraq. So we now understand, we should, by where these what we've been discussing. So you should understand now, or have overstanding of why we forgot, why remembered. Why our records as opposed to their records, and why those records were hidden and in this day and time needed to be uncovered, to let us into this story, or our story, where, you understand, this being claims to, like we saw Amun, the Amun the Bab, Hereafter, understood, is then a witness, isn't it? I was there, which is here, I was there, which is here. You see the here and here in there. See the here in there, which is here when the events to be described in this part of Taraq took place. Understood? Yeah. So the witness is doing witnessing again. Yeah. Amun the Bab. You see Amun in there. Amun the Bab. Raqay, the vehicle or vessel for your ancestors speak to renew our story. So it says, you enter a fifth world of a fifth cycle, a new world. Yeah, so the last 1,000 years of their 7,000 years becomes the first 1,000 years of the new 24,000 year cycle, and the first 1,000 years of the 6,000 year cycle in the new 24,000 year cycle. Yeah, so 6, the beginning of the 4 new cycles of 6 of years of 6,000, totaling 24,000 years in all, a procession of the equinoxes, which just a time we won't cover today. I did touch upon it in the last series, but processions of the equinoxes, remember, is that the planet obviously knocked off of its axis onto a 23.5 degree axis, overstood, from a perpendicular axis, and therefore the cycle can take longer. And for the axis of the planet to then traverse through all of these different celestial houses, as they referred to as, which is why Jesus made a statement, in my Father's house there are many mansions. Well, a mansion is bigger than a house, isn't it? So obviously wasn't talking about physical structures, understood? Now it says in 7, known to the keepers of the Kadesh sacred secrets, this Kawak Taha, planet Earth, was utterly destroyed in these cycles of 6,000 years. So telling us here that, and this is why it's saying that each one is a new world, because within a 24,000 year cycle, it's showing that we've got 4 worlds, not on 4 creations, not just this absolute singular creation. So any questions?
There is a question from Sakamtat. She says, says she. Person says, so when the moon cycle comes again, do we have to go through negative times again?
Well, it's a good question. So this is what we're seeking to avoid, where we elevate to a level where we're not subject to cycles. So so we work with them, but not subject to them. You understand? So a supreme being, as we touched on previously, the word supreme, as you see, means above. And so that supremeness is to deal with outside or not necessarily a part of or constrained by these cycles. As you see in nature with the 4 seasons, the Negroid or Nagaru, you think about this in the strength of our hair texture with real fur, is not really impacted by the seasons, you understand? Whereas other races who have weaker genes are impacted by those seasons, isn't it? So, so you think somebody with straight fur, like it's been really windy, there's some storms rolling through the UK at the moment, their fur is going to blow about and mess up their hairstyle in the wind. Understand? If it was raining, their hairstyle would be messed up again by the water of the rain. If it was really hot, their hair or fur, will start to frizz, as they refer to it as, meaning start to go curly. Understood? And it's super cold or whatever, then their fur texture is affected by the cold, particularly I suppose if it's got kind of liquid or moisture within it. You understand? Then it's affected by the cold as well. So in each of the cycles, it's affected by that. Whereas you think about a sans person's hair with them tight curls, overstood, each of those seasons that we just described, they would be unaffected. Yeah, so their hair wouldn't change if it's raining. Their hair's not going to change if it's hot. Hair's not going to change. I mean, they may get a little bit curlier. Hair's not going to change if it's cold. We're going to say the same tight curls. You see what I'm saying? So in that regard, we're not subject to those cycles or designed not to be so, but obviously we found ourselves caught up and trapped within them, and that's what has to change. So you don't get, at least in the dimensional shift, everything is, this part of the planet is shifting upwards anyway to a 7, 8, 9 ether vibrational state. Understood? So in that, that would avoid us really in the up and down declination of the cycles in our supreme state. Understood? So no, we don't expect to be subject to future moon cycles or up and down or loss of mind, loss of memory in that regard, to find ourselves in these same conditions again if we do what is necessary and we develop ourselves, clean ourselves up spiritually and develop physically, and develop ourselves spiritually. No, we do not intend to go through this process again, but rather, if any, help others who are other worlds who are in the same situation with their development and growth beyond a similar type of situation. Any other questions?
There is no more questions.
Okay, so it says here, verse 7, known to the keepers of the Kadesh sacred secrets, this Kawak-Taha planet, Earth, was utterly destroyed in these cycles of 6,000 years. 18. Then reborn on a renewed cycle of Tashkar, creation, where the 7,000 year is the first 1,000th year of the new cycle, which we just explained to everybody. 9. So you have now ended the last 4 cycles of 6,000 years in the year 2000, which was 6,000 and the end of the 24,000 years, a Kamal complete procession. 10. And entered upon the Wahan, first 1,000th year, called the new millennium, the hereafter of the next 4,000 cycles of 6,000 years. We've made that clear as well. 11. I, Yaanuwn, was a witness of these Ama'at, cycles of years, and the recreation of each. 12. Nakuk Kawuna Tunan, Aya Kawun Hunen. I was there, which is here, when the words were spoken. Let the sun's rays shine again at a time of great destruction of this Kawak planet. 13. Because the Shachasu people misused their Sakhamat powers given to them by the Parnatharu, Nazdars, Natiru from above. 14. They were mixing their Natat seeds, doing Daweh, evil acts, avoiding what was right, and Waweh, good. 15. At the time of great Tathbar, destruction of the earth, the gates of heaven had Patuha opened and raged above the earth as the Tananu Draconians from the Draco star system warred in the Patatut heavens, celestial skies, to take possession of the planet, to Nagud rule and lead. Yeah, so what we see is in this in ancient times, understood, a number of wars took place clearly, which had affected not only life forms on the planet but various different structures. So we see at certain places around the world today, we see many ancient sites either now covered in forestry. We see ancient sites around the world covered in sand dunes. We see a number of ancient sites around the world not necessarily well preserved. You know, some in states of decay, destruction, and not necessarily lasted the test of time, as they would refer to it as. Now, that test of time is not just a case of, being subject to the natural element, so to speak, but rather there have been events happening on the planet wars which have been taking place, extraterrestrial wars that have been taking place that have affected, as I say, the standings, and why many of our monuments, in fact, as well, are not in a state where they are powered. So it's not just a case of, it's not just a case of, that their monuments there and they're well preserved. It's that they're actually switched on and powered. You understand? They're receiving power from the cosmos, you understand, coming here into Earth and able to utilize that power to maintain certain systems within those structures. Understood? But we can see here we're introduced to a group of extraterrestrials referred to in the Sabaean language as the Tananu, in the Draconians, from this Draco star constellation. One of the ones, in fact, or one of the constellations that if you look at the Giza Pyramid, for example, the largest one, and you see the King's Chamber, isn't it, points towards the Orion star constellation. The Queen's Chamber points towards the Sirius star constellation. And then we look at the corresponding, or the other side, it is pointing, interesting enough, towards Draco. Yeah, the Draco star constellation. You understand? Now, why? What's the reason for that? Yeah, and then we see in their mythological story, they talk about Michael and his angels fought against the great dragon. Do you understand? Yeah. And what it says there's a war in heaven, I should say. War in heaven, and Michael and his angels, you understand? And the dragon, obviously, and his fought against each other in the heavens. Yeah, and interesting enough, when they lost, you understand, or the dragon and his offspring lost, they were cast into the planet Earth. Understood? So the fact that they lost this war, and then when they lost the war, were cast into this place, yeah, so they're residing here, then the question is, or the question could be put, well, if they're here because they were cast into this place, which is when you break the law or you're cast in a certain place, you're cast into prison, then the question would be, well, what are we doing here then? So if the devil was cast in there with his minions, understood, then why are we here? Or what are you doing here? You understand? If you're not in a prison. So to note, yeah, Tananu, Draconians. So it says 16. So the great alchemist created a wasaf formula to feed the Haman Wahashu human beasts who were bara, food for the invaders from Draco. So we see here we've got a group of extraterrestrials called Draconians, and then in this story, or in our story, an alchemist has created, you understand, a version of human being, you understand, or manipulated that version of human being so that this can placate or be food for these ravenous Draconians or invaders from Draco, who obviously in this instance are traveling here for various different reasons. You understand? Yeah. So 17 says many Tananu Draconians did eat the human beasts, and Mawuta died from the poison jasad flesh. 18 their Kharadu offspring children, their chosen, also ate the poison jasad flesh and died as well. And the offspring of Parkakasu, the Caucasoids, also became Kala, sick, and many died. So that's a good point to stop. We'll go into in part 2, introduce you into these different extraterrestrials and their relevance, what their purpose here was, and who was this great alchemist who seemingly poisoned the food, which caused these Draconians who were coming here obviously to hunt and collect this human meat that they had a taste for, and then, you understand, which caused a large war that we need to go into and talk about in more detail. So that's our time for today, unless there's any questions. That's a good point.
Note, No questions.
Okay, so we'll be on in a couple of weeks' time. I think it was 21st. Was iterated earlier in the class. So I think that's a good point to stop. These classes will be on YouTube, or edited version of it will be on YouTube in the next week or so. So to go back over and maybe have some questions arising from what we're speaking about today. So we've made clear that our foundation, when we start delving into subjects like extraterrestrials and these different types of subjects of a story, which is part of our story, extra-terrestrial, sun rays are extra-terrestrial. Yeah, so to us it's obviously real, but it's letting you know really that there is our story before their story. Their story, there's no correlation factor other than their mythology. When we look in our story, we see pure correlation at all levels that you're looking at. You understand? Between that natural design and the symbolism that we use to tell our stories, which we'll go more into in the next part of this. So, appreciate everybody for their time. We will catch you in a couple of weeks. As I say, stay safe. Check out other classes as well. Loads of different classes by different All Eyes in Egypt stores across the world. So check out the website, all the W's, United Sabaeans Worldwide. For that. And so that enable you to connect with wherever you are in the world, your local All Eyes in Egypt store. So all the W's there. And then if you say books or things that you're looking for in that regard, then check out your local store. Okay, everybody, appreciate your time today. See you soon and see you in a couple of weeks' time.